Hello, FBC Salinas. This is Pastor John coming to you with another edition of the Midweek Refresher video, where I desire to do two things. Number one, provide some information, and number two, provide inspiration for you in the middle of your week. Certainly hope your week is going well, and if not, may this video be a source of encouragement as well as a reminder that not only God being with us, but yet He has called us to live lives distinctly different in this world. And so we get to talk about that here in just a few moments. But before we get there, I want to provide a little information for you. And it's this, is that on Saturday, September 25th, the men's ministry here is going to be having a men's barbecue at Jim Tripp's house up in Castroville from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's going to be a great time. Adam Matthews going to be sharing the good news, some great teaching, and we look forward to that, as well as just hanging out with one another, playing cornhole, hitting some golf balls a really long ways, and enjoying time with one another and laughing and enjoying that fellowship together. So that's on the 25th. The second announcement is this, is that on the 26th, that's Sunday, September 26th, in our worship service, we are going to have some time for baptisms. And so if you're interested in being baptized, please reach out to me through an email, shoot me a text, call the church, whatever. Let me know that you'd be interested in doing that. Love to meet with you and talk to you about what's involved in getting baptized. And so we look forward to that on September 26th. So those are the two announcements for you. And now to go into just a little time, I think over the next few weeks, since we're doing this series out of Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, and we're not hitting every single verse in the book of Proverbs or Ecclesiastes, I thought it might be sort of fun to take a look at a couple other verses each week from the book of Proverbs or Ecclesiastes and go from there. And so I want you to take a look at this verse from Proverbs chapter 21, and it's found in verse 3, and listen to what this says. Solomon says this, "To do what is right and just is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice." I want us to think about that for a few moments. The sacrifices that people had to do back in Solomon's day were extensive. They were well thought out. People had to think through what they were going to do with this particular animal, because keep in mind, back then, many people were not living large. They were simply going from day to day, pretty much. And yet God's people were called to make sacrifices, and it meant an awful lot to them to do that very thing. And so there's a sacrifice involved, and the part of the sacrifice is that it's gonna cost you something. But what Solomon says here is really interesting, isn't it? He says this, to do what is right and just is more acceptable. Get that line, is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. Been thinking about that. And frankly, sometimes doing what is right and just is a whole lot bigger sacrifice than we realize. For example, a person, once you need to tell some hard truth to someone. You need to do what's right and just, and that's not going to be an easy thing to do, but you know you need to do it. It's more acceptable than a sacrifice to the Lord. There are other instances in our lives when we are tempted to fudge a little bit here or fudge a little bit there, and what the proverb is saying and what Solomon is saying is to do what is right and just. This isn't like we get to pick when we want to do what is right and just. We need to do what is right and just. And I've said this now for months, if not even years. We as Christ followers have golden opportunities every single day to do what is right and just, to be distinctly different. Because when that happens, people see something that sort of catches them off guard. So yes, the sacrifices that the people did back then by bringing in animals and things like that were valuable and were meant an awful lot. But I love what Solomon does here when he says this, to do what is right and just is far better than even those costly sacrifices. So my prayer for us in the coming days, weeks, months, and years is that we will be a people that does what is right and just, that we will look to the one who did what was right and just. His name's Jesus Christ, and he did that even though people didn't think that he would, but he did, and we're grateful for that. So turn to the one who always did what was right and just in those moments when you're struggling to do what is right and just, and find that he will walk with you through it every step of the way. So I encourage you, spend some time looking at the Proverbs 21:3. To do what is right and just is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. May we be a right and just people because Christ is with us and is using us. Have a great rest of the week. I love you, praying for you. I'm grateful for you. And I hope you enjoy not only the rest of this day, the rest of this week, and also the days ahead. God bless you. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.